Namaste. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. This is part of a course in traditional Advaita Vedanta and the teachings of Ramana Maharshi. And if you've happened to come across this video, I invite you to check out the course. Just go to my channel and look at the playlists, and one will pop up that says something along the lines of course in traditional Advaita Vedanta. Ramana Maharshi, the man of the hour. Love that guy. And oh boy, I won't say he's created a mess, but people misinterpreting him have made quite a mess. And so this, of course, is Neo-Advaita, which I've talked a lot about on this channel, and I'm very grateful that there are many people out there who are speaking against Neo-Advaita. So why is there such a mess? Why is the satsang movement such a mess? How did Neo-Advaita come to be about? Why and how are people misunderstanding Ramana Maharshi? Well, so far as I can tell, the misunderstandings boil down to two issues and then sort of one primary misunderstanding of Ramana. So the two issues are, the first issue is that I call it Neo-Advaita, which is the idea that no one has to do anything since they're already enlightened. Like there's nothing to do. And there are teachers who make their entire teaching that one teaching. Now, Ramana Maharshi would say that to some individuals. There's no denying it. But it's absolutely and completely false that that was his general message. There's only, to my knowledge, and please, well, anyway, there's only one book that he wrote, a comprehensive book, an instruction manual on self-realization. And here it is, Upadesha Saram. Start to finish, where to start the path, the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step, and then self-inquiry, then what enlightenment actually is and looks like. And it's very short. It's only about 40 verses, if even that many. Let me see how many verses it is. So everything else. So this idea that Ramana's teaching is there's nothing to do since you are the self. It's absolute nonsense. For certain individuals, that's all they need to hear. For certain individuals, all they need is to hear that, maybe to have a little more details filled in and just reflect on it, and they're done. And then the rest of humanity has to put in some effort, and Ramana said so himself. Over and over and over. But so that's misunderstanding number one. Misunderstanding number two is that everyone should practice self-inquiry. Whereas Ramana said over and over, and to some individuals, he would say, just inquire. But to some individuals, he would say, do your duty, chant your mantra. Yes, worship. Do whatever feels, do whatever spiritual practice feels easiest to you. To when Paramahansa Yogananda asked Ramana Maharshi, you know, what's the I forget the exact words, like what's the most efficient way to self-realization? Ramana Maharshi, now keep this in mind, Ramana Maharshi was a smart guy, and by smart, I'm not talking about this, like he knew a lot above and beyond, you know, the 3D world. And it's my contention he knew what Yogananda was going to do, which was basically take Hinduism to the West. And his answer to Paramahansa Yogananda, it depends upon the individual state of mind. For some, karma yoga, for some, bhakti yoga, for some, raja yoga, and for some, jnana yoga. That's the traditional Hindu answer. And Ramana Maharshi was a traditional Hindu teacher. So anyone who says everyone should inquire or just teaches groups of people to inquire, complete misrepresentation of what Ramana taught. And it's actually very dangerous. And I've talked about that a lot on this channel, so I won't go into that right here, right now. Those are the two main misunderstandings. There are other ones. There are sort of sub ones, but I'll leave that for here and now. Now, why does all this happen? Because in general, Ramana gave two types of teachings. He gave teachings that were directed to the individual, and he gave teachings that spoke about the path for the multitudes of people. Here's an example, Upadesha Swaram, of him teaching about the entire path and what it looks like and how to walk it and what to do. His statement he made to Paramahansa Yogananda, that's the broad picture. That's what traditional Advaita Vedanta is. Now what happens is, but to some people he would say, just inquire, or you are the self. He would say that to individuals, and he didn't say it to every individual. And so what's happened is people will pick up a Ramana Maharshi book and they'll say, someone will be like, Maharshi, how do I end suffering? And Ramana said to that person on that day, in that moment, there's nothing to do. You are beyond suffering. And so then people read it. I did it. Pretty much everyone's done it and been like, oh, that's Ramana Maharshi's teaching. No, that's Ramana Maharshi's teaching to that person in that moment. To other people, he was silent. To other people, he talked. This doesn't make it into the books, but to some people, he would just talk about their day-to-day affairs. He'd talk about business or family life. To some people, he recommended bhakti. To most people, he recommended, many people came to him and wanted to become a sannyasi, which is a renunciate. And to most people, he said no. But to some people, he said yes. Ramana Maharshi taught animals. There was one animal, one monkey, who was, I forget the monkey's name, but this monkey was quite cowardly, and Ramana taught him to be brave. He didn't teach him to inquire. He met that monkey where he was at, and he helped him develop his personality. And he did so with many, many other people. So, you can't pick up a book of Ramana Maharshi's and just read. You're reading a dialogue between two people. And what Ramana said to one person, he would say the opposite to another person. So it doesn't work if you want to learn the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, that's not it just doesn't work that way. If you want to approach it that way, what you need to do is you need to read and look for the things that are more universal. For example, Ramana Maharshi said, only, and I'm paraphrasing, but only the rare soul is able to realize without a guru. Okay. He didn't say that. So he's talking about how to say it. He didn't, in this particular instance, he didn't say to one person, hey, you need a guru. He said, I'm paraphrasing again, but he said, the vasanas and the delusions are so thick that it's only a rare soul that's able to find the light of God without a guru. That's an example of one of Ramana's more universal teachings. I hope I'm languaging it well. I'm hoping that, so you can read, but it's very tricky, and many people have gotten very lost, and by just directly reading quotes of Ramana, and let's face it, there's many false little mini religions that have been formed because someone will take one quote of Ramana's and then build a religion around it. there's one Neo-Advaita teacher I got into a debate with, and I was like, look, here's what Ramana said about, the basic quote I just gave you right there. I was like, here's what Ramana said about the need for a guru. And that person said, the self is the self and remains the self. I'm like, which is something Ramana said to one person in one moment. And I said, okay, but Ramana said most people need a guru. And this person responded, the self is the self and remains the self. So, and of course, this person offers private one-on-one consultations for a fee. But no one needs a guru because the self is the self and remains the self. So I hope you can understand the difference here. I'm wondering, yeah, I think I've given enough examples. So it's become a religion and people just discount the things that are uncomfortable. The things that don't match their narrative or their belief system. That's not how it works. That's not how spirituality works. And as I said, Ramana Maharshi is a very small part. Yes, a very beloved part, but a very small part of a much bigger conversation. That conversation is called Advaita Vedanta. That's why I encourage people to go read Adi Shankara directly. I was just reading a Neo-Advaita, a very popular Neo-Advaita teacher on Quora who said something along the lines of, well, I don't mention God in my teaching because da 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 da. So that's a formula. Many people need the concept of God. To some people, Ramana would talk about God. To some people, Ramana would talk about the self. To some people, Ramana wouldn't talk. He would just sit in silence with them. And to some people, he would just chit-chat about the weather. I don't know about the weather, but about day-to-day affairs. So, if you read Ramana Maharshi's teachings with that guideline in mind, and you get firmly committed to the truth, saying, okay, I'm not going to throw away any state, because we all form beliefs, right? We all have beliefs about what Ramana taught, but you have to be intellectually rigorous and honest and not just discount the statements that don't match your beliefs. What I have tried to do is go through and read every single statement that Ramana said to put it into a coherent picture. And I feel that I've been able to do that. And I hope that I can communicate that, and I'm excited to communicate that. So thanks for joining me on this journey. And that one piece, asking yourself, is Ramana teaching this one thing to this person in this moment? Or is Ramana talking about the big picture? And to not take too seriously what he said to one person in one moment. Because I guarantee you, in another moment, you can find Ramana saying the exact opposite thing to someone else. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm really excited about this course. And and with that, I think we're going to hop into the next lesson, I believe. Then maybe I'll add one more thing in, but into the Upadesha Saram, Ramana's step-by-step instructions for how to realize the self. And no, it doesn't start with self-inquiry. Thank you so much for joining in. I've got 3 live viewers. If any of them have any questions or comments, feel free to say hello or just we'll sit for a moment. All right, dear ones. Thank you much.